Good morning, everybody. This is a live extreme weather briefing with a tripod of topics to discuss this morning. The tropics continue to ramp up despite Tropical Depression Fred getting torn apart over Hispaniola. Maybe that'll be a tropical storm as it approaches the Florida Keys, or at least the Florida Panhandle, Eastern Gulf of Mexico later this coming weekend into early next week. But the disturbance behind it, the GFS model, even though it is just one run, last night's run at 6Z really ramped this thing up, passing just to the north of Puerto Rico. This is the next tropical wave. I believe this would be Grace eventually, and it does pass to the north of Hispaniola, which should spare that tropical cyclone. But again, keep in mind this is just one model, taking a similar track to Hurricane Dorian a couple of years ago. Of course, the GFS doesn't have it quite as intense, but it does have a pretty robust tropical cyclone. And you can see that Bermuda high anchored right over Bermuda there. Pretty consolidated high. I was wondering if that western lobe of that sprawling subtropical high is going to extend into the southeastern U.S., and that would lead to another very active hurricane season for the U.S. and the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean. But it does look like this time the Bermuda high is a little bit further east, centered right over Bermuda, where it should be. And there is definitely a chance that Grace could recurve and become a fish storm. But right now, most of the models are taking it toward the southeastern U.S., right around August 22nd, 23rd, 24th time period. In about 10 days, that could become an issue. And the slight risk today, centered over Cheyenne, probably should extend a little bit further north up to the Wheatland, Chugwater areas. Looks like that's in the northern part of the slight risk. Definitely a non-zero chance of a tornado threat today. With this event. There you can see this slight risk. Let me enlarge it just a little bit. Post-frontal environment, that cold front is clearing out a lot of the smoke across Colorado, but in its wake, a lot of moisture. Those surface winds are going to veer back around to an easterly direction, and that's going to create quite a bit of bulk shear for southerly movers through southeastern Wyoming into northeastern Colorado. And I'm going to be activating storm chase mode this afternoon and evening, heading off to the north, chasing that event up there in Cheyenne, probably targeting up toward the Chugwater to Wheatland area, it appears. And here is the latest in the tropics, that tropical wave well to the east of the Lesser Antilles, out near about 50 degrees west. That's the disturbance that we are keeping an eye on, looking very healthy, some robust convection out there. Fred, however, the low-level center is exposed as it's passing very near the northern coastline of Cuba. That proximity to land there, and after passing over Hispaniola, has really done a number on that tropical cyclone there, and I'm excited to reactivate storm chase mode this afternoon across the northern plains. Here is the latest WRAP forecast, and definitely a nice Cape blob develops by 20Z. That is 2 p.m. Mountain Time, right about the time that storms are going to fire. You can see these converging winds here in southeastern Wyoming, where to the east of that, you've got largely easterly surface winds, southeasterly surface winds, and then to the west of that boundary, you've got these northerlies out there. So that's going to be the initiating boundary out near Laramie to the west of Wheatland. And these storms aren't going to blast east into the Nebraska Panhandle, as you might expect if there were stronger mid and upper tropospheric winds. But these storms are going to turn southeast, maybe even passing to the west of Cheyenne, but turning into this axis here that exists in northern Colorado. They might even hug the mountains, hug the foothills a little bit, southeastern Wyoming into north central Colorado. But a decent plume of moisture coming in. Dew points this morning are in the mid to upper 50s out there in northeastern Colorado, and that moisture should advect into southeastern Wyoming with time. And also the wind shear at 20Z. It is going to increase by about 21 to 22Z, but still some decent storm relative effective helicities. Looks like the WRAP hints at those storms developing to the west of Cheyenne near the Colorado-Wyoming border, maybe even near that burn scar out there near the Cameron Peak Fire burn scar. I need to keep an eye on those debris flows once again, even though these storms are going to be moving a little bit more rapidly. Northerly storm motions at about 20 knots, so that should bring out a little bit more storm relative helicity. We're going to look at some forecast photographs still across southeastern Wyoming as well. Looking at the surface map here, you can see those dew points are into the mid to upper 60s across northeastern Colorado, and those are going to spread to the northwest there into southeastern Wyoming as well. And we've also got a very active monsoon happening out here. There are flash flood watches down into southern Arizona, into east central New Mexico. Flash flood potential definitely ramping up down there once again. So let me pull up the internet here and satellite, and we can take a look at Fred. I'm not going to be chasing Fred because it just looks like it's not going to be that amazing in terms of the wind. However, there very easily could be some flash flooding associated with this, and it is expected to curl to the north toward the southern Appalachians. Could certainly be a flash flood prone type of a situation there as well, and that turns into the southern Appalachians. Relatively dry so far out there as well this summer. Some air mass thunderstorms, so I could even see some debris plugs coming out of the southern Appalachians up there as well. Latest intensity for Tropical Depression Fred does show a little bit of slight intensification into a low-end tropical storm, and that's what the official forecast also has there. This is from the tropicaltidbits.com website. These are the hurricane intensity models here, and this black line, that's the official track, taking it up to about 40 knots. Low-end tropical storm. The ship model actually does re-intensify it just a bit into the eastern Gulf, up to a mid-range tropical storm. But overall, Fred is not looking that substantial, and we're going to look at it on satellite here next and kind of show you how that low-level center has been exposed. During my varsity tutors class, we discussed how the most efficient heat engine as a tropical cyclone is one that's vertically oriented from the low-level center up to the convection and the mid-level center and aloft, basically a giant heat engine. And that's why tropical cyclones will thrive in a barotropic environment, which is one with minimal wind shear down in the tropics. A baroclinic environment, on the other hand, is one that's associated with temperature gradients, increasing winds aloft, an upper-level jet as well, which right now is all the way up into Canada. And so Tropical Depression Fred definitely moved over land there in Hispaniola, and that now is a tilted system with a low-level center completely exposed. A couple little convective bursts on the east side of that center, but it is certainly not a very efficient vertically stacked tropical system right now. And here is that system, pulling up the radar Omega satellite imagery here quickly. And then I can show you how Fred looks right now. And I'll show you that exposed low-level center. It is a tropical cyclone, hardly, but it does have a little bit of convection off to the east. It does have a closed circulation as well, making it a tropical depression. And we also have that forecast track overlaid on. Let's take a look at this one right here. Nope, leave it a little blue. Here is the loop. See quite a bit of convection over eastern Cuba there. But that low-level center is located just to the east of Morón there. There it is, right along the coastline of Cuba. There you can see that low-level center. A couple little convective bursts off to the east there as well, but that is that low-level center right there. So you can see that the convection is certainly decoupled from Tropical Depression Fred there. That's heading very close to the northern. It looks like it's over land right now, just over the very extreme northern portion of Cuba. And that's going to continue to cause this system to weaken. You can see this little convective burst off to the east of the center, well to the east of the center, showing you that tilt. And tropical systems thrive off of the heat of the ocean surface. There's also a little bit of wind shear over this area too, with a little upper level low over the eastern Gulf of Mexico. It's likely causing just a little bit of wind shear as well, a little bit of an upper level low. You can see some storms there firing over the Florida Strait as well. But this is the forecast track heading up toward northwestern Florida, officially as a tropical storm. But further out in the Atlantic, let's take a look at what is going to be Grace. And this is the disturbance out here, well to the east of the Lesser Antilles. But this is the disturbance that the GFS is picking up on. Takes it just to the north of Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, though, you got to keep a close eye on this thing. Many of the models do take it directly into the island of Puerto Rico. But definitely a very mature tropical wave might already be a tropical cyclone. It's getting very close to being a tropical depression. Much healthier system than tropical depression Fred right now as well. You could look at the infrared and see that convective bursts very close to the center there. A little bit of a burst that petered out. Some more convection now developing on the east side. So I do think that this is pretty close to becoming a tropical depression. It's a high-end tropical wave. There's a very high chance, greater than 70, I think 80% now, of this becoming a tropical depression in the next couple of days here. So a very healthy wave. Look at the outflow pattern already on it too from that convective burst last night. You can definitely see that anticyclonically rotating outflow pattern aloft there. So pretty efficient heat engine already, even though that is a tropical wave. And a lot of the forecast models are taking that to a hurricane here. Let me show you some of the hurricane models here on the Tropical Tidbits website. Invest 95L, if you will. Here are some of the hurricane models for this disturbance, 95L. Again, the GFS takes it just to the north of Hawaii, but some of these other models barrel it west with a pretty robust Bermuda high up there, about a 1023, 1025 high, anchored over Bermuda. This storm is going to continue heading east to west over the southern periphery of that subtropical high, coming very close to Puerto Rico in 72 hours. Maybe barreling into Hispaniola once again, causing it to weaken. Some of the models do take it into the Gulf of Mexico as well, where it could reinvigorate like a Laura track. Maybe it'll take a Dorian track up to the northern Bahamas as well. Looking at the intensity forecast, most of these hurricane models show that land interaction over Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, keeping it as a tropical storm during a large portion of its life cycle. The ship model, though, takes it up to a Category 2 storm here. Very close to a hurricane near Puerto Rico in 72 hours, maybe even a high-end tropical storm, low-end hurricane when it gets to Puerto Rico. And then it starts to ramp up, continues to ramp up. The ship model does take it just to the north of land, so shows steady intensification all the way on approach to the Bahamas, eventually up to a Category 2 storm, maybe even higher end than that. So this thing does have a lot more potential than a Fred out there. And looking at the GFS ensembles here, you can see one of these members has it as a pretty intense storm. Most of these don't recurve. In fact, none of them recurve this storm in the western periphery of the Bermuda High, and that's because in the long range, they show an expansion of that Bermuda High off to the west over to the southeastern U.S., and that'll bend that storm back over the Florida Peninsula and potentially into the eastern Gulf of Mexico there. You definitely don't want to focus on the intensity here with these ensembles. This one member, though, really ramps this thing up. It has a consolidated Bermuda High, and then that Bermuda High expands off to the west, recurving that storm off to the west as well. And there aren't any troughs that are forecast to come in to pick this thing up as well. So this definitely could be a Gulf of Mexico storm. It is possible, if some of the hurricane models are accurate, taking it right over Hispaniola, over Cuba, that could be a problem for this storm, certainly. But Grace is definitely one to watch, and that would be around August 22nd, 23rd type of a time frame. These models, the ensemble global weather prediction system here, does show a couple recurving storms. So different than the GFS, it shows that subtropical high to remain more consolidated around Bermuda, showing this to become a fish storm, even further north than the GFS, and some of those hurricane models are even much further south in both of the GFS ensemble solution as well. But the GEPS ensemble here, global prediction system here, the ensembles recurving this thing to the north. So still a lot of spread within these models. These are the hurricane models. I'll show you these again. Taking this thing off to the west, right over the mountainous Greater Antilles there. This would be definitely a problem there, but you definitely want to focus on more of the global models. They seem to have a better handle on the steering mechanisms on the large scale here. And these models are trending just a little bit north with the 6Z run. So now let's pivot on over to our high plains insanity type setup here. First, though, I want to show you there is a marginal risk across central and southern Arizona. We do have these flash flood watches across southern Arizona here. Active Friday with severe thunderstorms and flash flooding. A slight risk, mainly not quite a moderate for the flash flooding, but it only takes one of those storms. And this could impact those burn scars to Globe, Miami. Arizona could get those debris flows again off of that fire. I believe that was a telegraph fire there just south of town that has already cut loose a couple of times. And there you can see Globe included well within that flash flood watch here, as we're getting a reinvigorated southwestern U.S. monsoon. Once again, another monsoonal surge. So I'm going to have to decide after chasing high plains insanity today whether I want to chase the monsoon or do I want to save some gas for the tropics. Those are kind of the questions that we are going through. But you got to take one day at a time. And today we're going to be focusing on high plains insanity. So let's take a look at the 3-kilometer NAM, realizing that the HRRR is a terrible model up here for the high plains. We've got a sprawling high pressure off to the north there, 1024 high, building in. Let's zoom in just a little bit closer, of course. And thank you, Facebook supporters, for making these live briefings possible and live storm chasing possible as well. My plan is starting this Sunday. I'm going to do a live streamed Q&A and just a discussion of all things weather for supporters only. And I'm going to do that every single Sunday, starting this Sunday afternoon. We'll even do it for a couple of hours every Sunday. I want to do an exclusive Q&A for Facebook supporters only. So I am excited about that. I know during this storm season, I've been streaming to everybody throughout this storm season, including the live briefings. And sometimes I am torn a little bit when I do provide exclusive briefings to supporters. Then I'm worried that people that aren't supporters won't get the weather information. Sometimes it could even be life-saving weather information out there. But I am going to be doing this exclusive Q&A for Facebook supporters only, just to thank you very much for your support in making this live storm chasing and live briefings possible. And also, I do have some new shirts coming in, some gizmo themed shirts, some storm chasing, never stop chasing themed shirts as well. And I'm going to be giving some of those out for gifts to supporters additionally. But here is a 3-kilometer NAM at 18Z showing those dew points rising up into the upper 50s here in this post-frontal environment. Let's take a look at what the surface temperatures are going to be up here in the northeastern Colorado, southeastern Wyoming, mid to upper 70s. So we're talking about 20-degree dew point spreads. Should be manageable out there across this target area. Maybe 25-degree dew point spreads, which can make tornadoes happen across the high plains out here. But let's see what the trends are in the dew points here on the 3-kilometer NAM. As we step forward each hour, you can see those dew points are increasing. 19Z. We go to 20Z, still increasing up into the mid-50s here, southeastern Wyoming, northeastern Colorado, even some better dew points down there into southeastern Colorado as well. And look at those dew points by 20Z up there. Wheatland, Chugwater area, 56 dew point. Uniform, 55, 56 out here with about 77 to 80 degree temperatures as well. Let's see what kind of cape we're going to be dealing with out here. I should have been chasing in Iowa and Wisconsin as well over the last week or so. I do regret that just a bit, but when you're storm chasing, you got to focus through the windshield, not through the rear view, or you'll end up in a ditch. And we're not going to end up in a ditch. We're focusing through the windshield at this setup that we have this afternoon, within range, high plains insanity. But I certainly should have focused a little bit more on the Midwest and the Corn Belt. But these MCV outflow boundary setups, and you don't have a massive trough, kind of some ridge runner, subtle disturbances. Need to focus on those, but it's been a long time in the Great Plains since we've had a big open wave, a big robust trough with a consolidated upper jet. I think we're going to get that next spring, year 2 La Nina. I think we just had a little bit too much warm water in the subtropical and North Pacific branch of the Pacific Decadal Oscillation during this spring, and that led to more of a split flow type of a pattern for the second year in a row. But I do think next year we'll see a more consolidated jet. We'll see Tornado Alley come alive in a big way. But in the meantime, we have to either chase Monsoon, chase these kind of MCV type corn belt, wispy type tornadoes that are still amazing. I'd love to intercept all these tornadoes. They don't have a lot of hail in those storms, almost like tropical outer band type supercells embedded within the outer bands of a tropical cyclone. Or we could chase these high plains insanity events, post-frontal type of events, or we got the tropics, of course, to watch. But we got 2,500 CAPE here across southeastern Wyoming. A nice blob of CAPE up there, west of Cheyenne, Laramie, up toward Medicine Bow, off to the east, up toward Wheatland. So we're probably going to end up having to go pretty far west in Wyoming out there, maybe to the north of Laramie once again. 79 over 52 type of a setup. Hodographs look a little bit straight line down there. You're really going to need these due south storm motions at about 20 knots to squeeze out any storm relative helicity. But looking at the sounding, you've got 150 0 to 3 kilometer storm relative helicity and basically 0 to 1 kilometer shear. But that happens a lot in the high plains. And the reason why is look at that profile there on the sounding. It flips from easterly to a westerly direction at about 2 kilometers. Well, this sounding will work as well. But you can see those easterly winds there. And then you get up above about 1 kilometer at about 2 kilometers. And then they flip around to northwesterly at 20 knots up at 500. The difference between those vectors and that shift is about 30 plus knots, 35 knots. So it definitely is supportive of supercell storms. You also have some very good low-level CAPE, low-level lapse rates there that are pretty steep with this 74 over 53 profile. A lot of CAPE there. A lot of dry air in the mid-levels. Nice elevated mix layer coming in. A lot of bulk shear. And this hodograph here has a little bit more cyclonic curvature to it as well. A little bit more storm relative helicity within there, getting squeezed out. So that is more of a hodograph that is supportive of that tornado potential. If you didn't have that southerly storm motion at 20 knots, though, you'd basically have 0 storm relative helicity. But because you've got that hard right mover, due southerly mover at 20 knots, quite a bit of storm relative helicity enclosed within that hodograph. A lot of streamwise vorticity for these storms. And looking at the 0 to 3 kilometer EHI, we definitely are going to see that blob. There's a supercell composite, realizing that 35 knots of bulk shear up there over southeastern Wyoming. Definitely supportive of supercell storms. We're going to go well to the northwest of Cheyenne, maybe to the west of the Wheatland area by about this time. Looking at the 0 to 3 kilometer EHIs, you're going to see a bright yellow circle up here, I bet. Yep, there it is. Kind of showing you that coincidence of the CAPE, 2,500 CAPE with 0 to 3 kilometer storm relative helicity. That definitely captures the 0 to 3 kilometer layer. Certainly captures that shift from the southeasterly winds to the northwesterly that happens at about 2 kilometers. And even a decent environment here, post-frontal environment near the Denver area, down near the Denver cyclone. Could also get a couple of storms up there. This is at 3 p.m. Mountain Time, so let's see when the 3 kilometer NAM suggests initiation may happen. Looks like it'll be at about 4 p.m. on this one. There, you start to get initiation. Earlier initiation down near the Denver area with those storms, maybe off the Palmer Divide. But then at about 4 p.m. Mountain, that's when we get initiation here across southeastern Wyoming. We'll be full-blown storm chase mode by this time, 4 or 5 p.m. And remember the 3 kilometer NAM, when it doesn't show widespread convection like this, that usually means you're going to get isolated supercell storms instead of a big complex. Then it definitely shows these storms continuing through 6 p.m. Mountain. Moving toward the Cheyenne area by about 7 p.m. Mountain up there. A little bit later of a show being indicated by the 3 kilometer NAM. But definitely does evolve. Pretty nice supercell storm up there. Developing off the terrain, hitting that deeper moisture. Then developing near the Wheatland Chugwater area, and then sliding down into Cheyenne by about 1Z as well. So it definitely does look like there could be some tornado potential down here. Southeastern Wyoming, that's what we're going to be watching with high plains insanity. Little MCS going down there into central Oklahoma. So definitely is looking quite like a pretty active chase up here across southeastern Wyoming. Definitely a 2% tornado probability is justified. Maybe even more than that should be justified as well. There's the slight risk across southeastern Wyoming into northeastern Colorado. It does look like mainly a southeastern Wyoming type of a setup to me, certainly. It looks like a southeastern Wyoming bullseye there for wind shear and instability. So that's definitely the location that we are going to watch this afternoon, heading off to the north. But with this day of high plains insanity, we're going to continue to watch the tropics over the coming days, especially the next 10 days here, as what will become Tropical Cyclone Grace, I believe. Will come very close to Puerto Rico. Some of the models are taking it directly over the Greater Antilles. Many of the global models, though, are trending a little bit further north. There you can see that Bermuda High. Watch it up there expand off to the west and consolidate around Bermuda late in the period. See that? Bam, there it is. There's that high pressure expanding off to the west. And that could cause the storm to bend back to the west toward Florida and then maybe into the Gulf of Mexico. Some of the other global models, though, show that Bermuda High staying further out over the open Atlantic, and that would allow a window for this tropical cyclone to curl off to the north and maybe even become a fish storm. So many different scenarios are possible. Anywhere from dying over the Greater Antilles, over the mountainous terrain over there, to a Gulf of Mexico storm that re-intensifies, to a storm that approaches the Bahamas and then curls back to the west near the southeastern U.S., to even a fish storm curving off to the north on the west side of that Bermuda High. So all of those scenarios are possible with this tropical cyclone. Looks like it could potentially impact the northern Lesser Antilles, maybe even as a low-end hurricane, especially given how organized it already looks out there over the open Atlantic, well to the east of the Lesser Antilles. Might have to make a little trip out to Puerto Rico to intercept this tropical cyclone, but it's also possible that it could pass just to the north of Puerto Rico. Most of the global models are showing that. The hurricane models, however, that are largely statistical in nature, they are showing that passage of the tropical cyclone directly over Puerto Rico and the Greater Antilles, that's why a lot of those intensity models are showing it remaining as a tropical storm, maybe even a low-end hurricane. But those models that do avoid land definitely take it up to a robust Category 2 storm. That's what the SHIP model shows. So I do think that this could be a pretty substantial tropical cyclone born out of the intertropical convergence zone. Look at that thing. There you can see that loop. So we'll continue to watch that. And we'll also watch the monsoon. I know the flash flood guru, David Rankin, is going to be working that Tucson area down there in southern Arizona, chasing severe storms, debris flows, and also some substantial flash flooding out there. So thank you for joining my weather reports. I'm going to be live this afternoon, storm chasing, teaming up with Devin Lucy with Weather Nation. He's a good friend of mine, stemming back to the OU days. Great meteorologist, and he's going to be teaming up here on a chase. Since it's his off day, we'll be going to southeastern Wyoming and chasing that tornado potential later on today. And I'll be streaming live as well. So be sure to stay tuned for my live weather reports as we are storm chasing. I'll be back in the field. Got my vehicle fixed, Dominator 4, after 3 sessions at the shop. Finally got it fixed. So I'm very excited about that as well. My vehicle should be driving pretty well. I do still have a hole in the exhaust header or the turbo in there. That kind of suffocates us if we leave the window shut. But if I can crack the window, allow a little bit of fresh air inside, then I'll be okay with that hole in the exhaust header. But I'm going to have to get that fixed as well eventually. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to my live briefing this Friday morning. Hope you have a great end of your week. And I hope you enjoy my live storm chasing this afternoon through the evening from southeastern Wyoming into northeastern Colorado. Thank you, everybody. Never stop chasing.